Hello there, and welcome to the Weeb Years, a look back at the media and culture of the Western anime boom. I'm Beanie.
I'm Laurel.
And I think it's about time we really focus on that media and culture bit of our tagline, because so far, we've just been an anime podcast. We're not supposed to just be an anime podcast.
I mean, we've watched TV animes and OVAs and movies. So that's 3 types of anime.
Okay, pedantic little bitch. Point is, this show was never supposed to be just about anime. This is about, as we say, the media and culture of the Western anime boom, which, yes, most of it was anime. It's in the name, the Western anime boom. But you're also talking manga, you're talking video games, conventions, magazine, a whole bunch of stuff. And today, we are finally hitting one of those other points as we talk about Zombiepowder, our first manga.
It feels really appropriate to do this as like our first manga too, because I feel like when the Western anime boom was happening, I was mostly reading manga, and one of the manga I was reading was Bleach.
Yeah, and on that note, have you, when you were a kid, I mean, I guess you kind of answered this question already, but like, what was your Bleach experience when you were younger?
When I was in middle school, I went to a new school for the first time, and I finally actually had friends for the first time in my life. And my best friend at the time was super into Bleach, like caught up on the manga into Bleach. And this was, back in 2009, so it wasn't done yet. And I remember, like, she would always try to catch me up on, like, everything that was happening in Bleach. And then one day I was like, hey, you really like this, I'm gonna try reading it. And I read 80 chapters, and I felt like nothing happened. So this is a little different than that.
For full context for the audience, because I realize we kind of jumped around a little bit, we're talking about Bleach right now because Zombiepowder is written by the same guy, Tite Kubo. I was a pretty big Bleach fan when I was a kid. Like, I was more of a Naruto fan, but Bleach was like a very close second. Like, I was watching the anime when it was coming out on Toonami, I would read the manga. I really loved drawing Renji, specifically. I don't know why, I just really like drawing him.
He's the red-haired one?
Yeah. I never finished Bleach, the manga or the anime. I fell out of it a little faster than I did Naruto, but I was a pretty big Bleach fan at the time. And I do remember reading the first volume of Zombiepowder when it came out in the States, because like, oh my god, it's another thing by the Bleach guy, holy shit.
I had no idea that this existed, which is weird because I feel like I read a lot of other like niche manga by more popular mangaka.
So yeah, Zombiepowder was Tite Kubo's first serialized work before he started doing Bleach. Which, also, to clarify, Tite Kubo, T-I-T-E, Tite Kubo. When I was a kid, I would pronounce it as Tite. When I got older, I realized, wait, that's not how Japanese words and Japanese names are pronounced when they're spelled that way, so I just assumed I had been saying it wrong this whole time, and I started calling him Tite Kubo, and I actually started hearing other people saying Tite Kubo around the same time. And I've been saying Tite Kubo for the last fucking decade, up until doing research for this episode. No, turns out it is actually pronounced Tite Kubo.
I thought it was Tite. Like, I genuinely had only ever heard it as Tite Kubo.
According to Wikipedia, it is Tite Kubo. Or if you want to really emphasize it, it's Taito Kubo.
Taito, that's cute.
Now, Kubo got his start when he had a one-shot published in Weekly Shonen Jump when he was just 19 years old, titled Ultra Unholy Hearted Machine. And over the next couple of years, he had 2 more one-shots published in Jump before finally getting his serialized title with Zombiepowder.
I'm nodding. I don't know why I'm nodding. You can't see me nodding.
Kubo cites 2 of his biggest inspirations for being a mangaka at such a young age to be Gegege no Kitaro and Saint Seiya, which inspired his love of supernatural monsters and interesting weapons, respectively.
Who was the first one that you listed?
Gegege no Kitaro. It's a supernatural comedy manga / anime that I think's been going since like the 60s or something.
Oh!
It's really cute. It's got a lot of, it's very like classical yokai focused. I watched the, like 2020, 2021 anime, the one that came out the most recently. I watched the first like half of that and it was really fun.
Oh, this is fascinating because I look at this cover and I can see like inspiration for so many things.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Now, Zombiepowder was a failure in Japan. It only lasted 26 chapters, but it saw a surprising amount of success in North America, mostly due to when the manga manga came out in North America, Bleach had already been a hit in the West by the time it got localized. So, people were seeing, hey, this is from the Bleach guy, and obviously got very interested. Same reason I started reading it.
I'm a little disappointed this didn't do as well in Japan.
I am as well. I think it had a lot of promise, but I can also see why it didn't succeed, but we'll get into that later, obviously. The Viz Media releases of the manga's 4 volumes are actually still in print today, as well as being... Yeah, I imagine just because of the Kubo pedigree. And the Viz Media releases of the volumes also include English releases of Kubo's 3 one-shots from before he started Zombiepowder as like little extra bonuses.
Oh, that's sweet.
Right? Getting into the manga itself, Zombiepowder is set in a very, Trigun-esque sort of sci-fi Wild West world, but with magic thrown in for good measure. The story follows a man named Gamma Akutabi as he searches for the 12 rings of the dead, which can be used to create the titular Zombiepowder, a substance that can revive the dead and grant immortality to the living. Right off the bat, Gamma is sick as hell. He has a massive chainsaw sword. He's got a metal arm that catches bullets. He's got black flame magic. He's also just a really fun character. This whole manga runs on the rule of cool, and Gamma is just a poster boy for that.
The moment you see him too, he has the coolest fucking design, and then you learn his personality, and it's a little bit different than what you'd expect, and it just makes him cooler. It's awesome. Fucking love Gamma.
He's one of those great Kubo characters where they can be simultaneously badass and goofy, depending on what the scene needs, but it never feels out of character either way.
Yeah, and I feel like we're gonna be making a lot of Bleach comparisons throughout this.
Oh, 1,000,000,000%.
But I feel like Gamma takes himself a lot less seriously than Ichigo. At least early Ichigo.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of all this, also, by the way, I love Kubo's early art style. This and the early chapters of Bleach have such incredible personality to them. His later art style, the later years of Bleach and, what's the new thing they did? Burn the Witch. That looks great, but there's just a very different personality to his earlier artwork that I really miss.
It's very defiant. I don't know how else to describe it, but he takes a lot of influence from both traditional shonen stuff, but he's also just throwing all kinds of weird influences in there.
Honestly, I made the Trigun comparison with the setting, but I can also kind of see some Trigun influence in the art style.
100%. I was thinking Trigun this whole time. It's very Trigun.
As the story starts up, Gamma meets a young pickpocket named Elwood, whose sister is killed by gangsters at the end of the first chapter, and so he ends up joining Gamma with the goal of getting the Zombiepowder so he can bring his sister back to life. I was actually surprised how much I liked Elwood. He's not amazing by any stretch, but he does just enough to be interesting beyond that typical anime sidekick character who only exists to ask questions and comment on how cool the main character is. He has just enough little moments for himself where it's hell yeah, Elwood, you get that cool moment.
Yeah, and I think he's just a really well-written character at the age he's at. I feel like you don't usually see well-written 13, 14-year-olds.
Yeah, he feels like a very realistic 14-year-old.
Because he's taking big risks, he doesn't understand the consequences of his actions, and he's very gung-ho. He has the confidence of a 14-year-old, and it really shows.
He kind of reminds me, this is going to be a very specific comparison. Did you ever watch Avatar: The Last Airbender?
A little bit.
Do you remember the episode Zuko Alone, where Zippo lighter. Do you remember the episode called Zippo Alone, where the Zippo lighter is exiled and he's traveling through the countryside and he ends up in that small cowboy town?
I don't think I watched that far.
Oh, you really should. It's one of the best episodes of the whole show. But in that episode, Zippo befriends this little farm boy, and Elwood kind of reminds me of the little farm boy a little bit.
Fair.
Unfortunately, that reference is lost on you, but hopefully the majority of the audience will know who I'm talking about. I don't remember the kid's name.
I'm sure most of the audience has seen Avatar. I think I'm an outlier.
We'll get around to Avatar at some point.
What I really like about Tite Kubo's style, especially in this manga, is his use of contrast. His use of negative space and contrast between the black and white lines, rather than having everything shaded on varying levels, is really effective.
Mm-hmm.
Also, can we talk about Gamma's fucking design?
Gamma is rad. I want to point out, I don't know what avenue you went through to read the manga, but I was reading it on Viz's scans of the volumes, and at the end of each chapter, there's little, like, behind-the-scenes sketches and information from Kubo. Yeah, and there's one where he shows off a early draft design for Gamma, and I'm like, that is so fucking Renji Abarai coded. That is 100% a basis for what Renji eventually was in Bleach. Like, this whole thing was so fun to read as a former Bleach fan, and just see, like, you can see where Bleach came from. Like, the fact that Gamma, his nickname is the Black Shinigami.
Yeah, that's a little on the nose.
Or, I swear there was, like, some black butterfly motif in the first couple chapters at one point, too, and that's something else that's very big in Bleach.
So I actually, from Gamma, I got more Grimjow vibes than anything, but I also never got that far in the manga.
Oh.
But, like, from a design perspective, he feels very Grimjow.
Oh, yeah. No, I was very focused on that prototype Gamma design that was in the extras, just because it really stuck to me. But yeah, he does make me think of Grimjow. Kubo is just an amazing character designer. Like, this really made me appreciate how fucking talented this man is at designing characters. Like, I was retroactively remembering characters from Bleach and thinking, like, wow, no, this fucking slap. Like, I think the reason why it's so easy to forget how good the character designs are in Bleach is that, like, once you get to the Soul Society arc, pretty much everyone is wearing the exact same outfit. But if you see, like, the chapter title page spreads that he draws, or, like, anytime he gets to draw his characters in, like, casual clothes, they always look sick as hell.
Yeah.
Also, props to Kubo for being one of the few mangaka who ever remembers that black people exist.
Yeah. So we learn early on that Gamma's trying to go around and collect these rings, because these rings produce a substance known as Zombiepowder that can grant you immortality or allow you to bring someone back from the dead.
I think the specific way they try and, like, explain it is the rings create life, either extra life for something that is already living, or putting life into a deceased body.
Which begs the question, does it create a new soul?
Unfortunately, the manga was cancelled before we could ask those questions.
Yeah, we'll never know.
We do see later on in the manga that the way the rings do this is that the rings themselves will actually, like, they will possess people and eat their souls, or eat their life force, and then that is used to create the zombie powder, which, for a moment, I was like, because I had in my brain, like, this is very Trigun coded, this is obvious, it's blatant, and then I read that, and it's like, hang on, sacrificing hundreds of lives in order to make a substance that grants immortality, is this just a ripoff of the Philosopher's Stone from Fullmetal Alchemist? Fullmetal Alchemist came out a couple years after this, so they're free from that, but it did remind me of the Philosopher's Stone. As Gamma and Elwood travel, they quickly meet up with Gamma's partner, C.T. Smith, a gunslinger with my favorite kind of sassy twink attitude. I really liked how they explained their partnership, because they're both powder hunters. That's what the people looking for zombie powder are called in this, powder hunters. And they're just partnered up to try and find zombie powder together. And there's a moment early on when he's introduced where, like, I don't know, they're trying to run a scam on some bad guys where CT pretends to be on the bad guy's side. And so he and Gamma have a fight, and then after it's revealed... Cross. Yeah, and then after it's revealed that CT is actually a good guy, Elwood is like, wow, that was really convincing. It looked like you guys were actually trying to kill each other. And deadpan, both of them are like, I was trying to kill him. That's the only way we could make it believable. And then Gamma has a line about it that I thought, it again, just like rule of badass. It was just really cool. Gamma's like, why would I ever have a partner who I could kill?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that...
You want someone evenly matched. You don't want to have someone weaker than you. And it makes perfect sense sense because throughout the manga, Gamma is really talking about how much danger he puts people in when they travel with him. That's something he really instills in Elwood really early on. Gamma initially doesn't want Elwood to travel with him because he doesn't want to put Elwood at risk.
Mm-hmm.
Gamma's really altruistic and it shows up a lot throughout the manga as well.
Gamma is just a really good character, honestly. Now, this is where we start kind of tell why the manga wasn't too successful, because in the manga's short lifespan, we really only get like a handful of little miniature arcs, so to speak, and they all basically boil down to the same formula of learn where Ring of the Dead is, fight a bunch of gangsters, fight their eccentric boss, repeat. It's sort of just one big fight scene to the next with not much else going on.
So is Bleach.
No.
At the start, at least.
Yeah, but then it gets better. Early Bleach...
This didn't get the chance to get better!
Okay, there's more problems with this than just that. But yes, early Bleach, like the first major arc, it is pretty like Monster of the Week. And it's not until after like Ichigo's initial, Substitute Soul Reaper thing, where it's like, okay, we go to the Soul Society and now the actual plot is happening. So honestly, yeah, you do point something out. Like there is a pretty clear bridging point between Zombiepowder and like the first arc of Bleach.
Like, I think that he probably improved a lot in his style of writing as he went on through Bleach, because Bleach is so fucking long.
You can tell that Zombiepowder was mainly a learning experience for him.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sad to me, though. I like Zombiepowder so much more.
Zombiepowder is the manga equivalent of a 13-year-old who just had his first energy drink and also played Gears of War for the first time.
Gears of War is, I think... No, we're not going on this tangent. We're not going on this tangent. Eject. I was about to start talking about Sims Mpreg, and we're not getting into that.
What the fuck?
That's my only knowledge of Gears of War, is I have a friend who makes the characters and makes them Mpreg each other.
I regret this. Moving on. It's around this point... God, that's going to be stuck in my brain for a while now. It's around this point that we find out about Gamma's magic black flame powers. And I don't know, weirdly they feel like too much to me. Like Gamma was already plenty cool with the chainsaw sword and the metal arm that could catch bullets and shit. Now it just kind of feels like you're adding mac and cheese to a cheeseburger. I think this is one of the instances where, like, Zombiepowder as a whole is pretty much just Kubo playing with his toys. And thinking like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if this character could do this thing and then this character could do this thing and then they tried to kill each other? And I think Gamma's flame powers is one of the instances where Kubo just goes a little too overboard with trying to make things quote-unquote cool. It feels unnecessary with everything else he's already got going on. Too many hats.
I think there's like a parabola where like once you get to a certain point, it stops being cool, but then once you reach another threshold, it starts being cool again. Like it's a stack underflow of coolness. And that's where Gamma's hitting for me, because I find the Black Flame stuff and all that entails, and the other Gamma, so to say, which we'll get into later, that's the most interesting part of this manga to me, is that these are humans who are not entirely human and they are facing consequences of that.
You know, honestly, making Bleach comparisons again, and I can't speak to this too much because this is only something that I've got hearsay for. I never actually got this far into Bleach, but like talking about giving your main character too many hats to wear, apparently that happens to Ichigo by the end of Bleach, where it's like he's a human who's part Soul Reaper and part Hollow and also part Quincy and also part something else. He's just everything and he's got all the powers, and it's like, this is just something
Quincy?
Kubo does, I guess.
What?
I'm pretty sure I heard people talking about that. Spoilers for Bleach, I guess. I'm not sure about the legitimacy of these things.
Let's spread irresponsible rumors about Bleach.
I guess this is just something Kubo does. Like, I don't know if you want to call it a flaw or not, but like, he just loves making his main characters have as many cool aspects to them as he can.
I kept wondering throughout if Gamma would pass a Mary Sue litmus test. I don't think he would, but also that stuff is bullshit anyway. Like, if it's written well, it's fine. I think that the setting is so cool too that Gamma's cool, but everyone is cool, so the baseline is higher. I might be too forgiving.
I don't know. Like, I'm pretty forgiving of things, too. Like, objectively, this is kind of a bland story and not super original. But, I don't know, reading this just made me feel like I was a 13-year-old boy again. Like, it's just so fucking cool. It's just cool characters beating each other up with cool powers in a cool setting. It's just badass. Like, this is exactly the kind of shit that I would have been into at 13.
And, like, writing cool characters to be cool is something that I feel like can be done really well in manga and anime, because all of the examples I can think of characters like that. Like, Jotaro comes to mind. Jotaro is so written to be cool, but he pulls it off completely.
When you hear edgy anime bullshit today, you think, like, magical girl shows that are made post-Madoka, where it's like, they're magical girls, but they can die, and there's blood, and, like, one of them has a sexual assault backstory, and it's edgy, and, like, this one does drugs, and, like, that, I feel like that is what, quote-unquote, edgy anime bullshit has kind of become. I miss this edgy anime bullshit, where the only thing that mattered was cool bullshit happening.
I mean, if you think of a lot of characters that are like that, they're all from the 90s and early 2000s.
I wonder if the evolution of edgy anime bullshit has anything to do with, like, I feel like the late 2000s are when we really found that period of, like, people trying to justify anime's existence of, it's not just cartoons for kids, you know, there's adult stuff in here. It can be adult, capital A, in big quotation marks, adult. And I feel like not only were fans doing that, but also eventually, you know, fans became creators, and creators kept that mindset of, we wanna legitimize anime, like that even needed to be a thing. But then what that became was just like, yeah, we're gonna make it adult. It's gonna have traumatic shit and blood, and we're gonna take things that you liked as a kid and we're gonna make them fucked up. I feel like there was a Rubicon that we passed at some point that caused that to change.
I do think that's true, though, especially with anime trying to pivot to be more mature at that point, because I feel like that's still the reputation that anime and manga have in the West.
I don't know if it is anymore, but it definitely was at the time. And also, I feel like clarification needs to be made. Like, obviously, anime was always capable of adult stories. Like, some of the most, like, adult, but not in huge quotation marks, anime that we got were from, like, the 90s and early 2000s. Like, a lot of, like, Satoshi Kon stuff and things like that. Ghost in the Shell, that sort of thing. But, like, I don't know. I feel like the globalization of anime brought with it like, Japan gave us anime, and we gave Japan our stigmas around anime, and because it is now a global market, they felt the need to address those stigmas, and now we have things where, oh, you don't think we can be adult? Here you go. I don't know, this might be all bullshit, and I'm just overthinking it, but I feel like there's a smidge of reality to it.
I think there is some reality to it, but I think that it's much more likely due to industry trends, much more due to the actual production of the anime and how much writing is done in advance and how much access the different writers have to different parts of the story, what have you.
That is fair too. A lot of it is also industry trends. Like, again, that's why we have 20 new isekai a year, even though pretty much everyone is fucking tired of isekai.
I'm not tired of isekai.
Ugh.
I could watch isekai forever.
Problem. You're part of the problem.
Look, I'm an MMO player. What do you expect from me?
I don't know, better taste?
I have good taste in isekai.
We can have that argument later. But no, that's also why, like, pretty much every Maho show post-Madoka has been the edgy bullshit that we were talking about earlier. Like, it's because it was popular once, everyone needs to try and recreate it.
Aside from the shit that's being, like, targeted at literal children, and the stuff that existed before, like Pretty Cure,
that's the thing,
continue
though, like,
to have installments.
I think the only post-Madoka magical girl show that has been been just like a unironic magical girl show has been the continuing Precure franchise.
Flip Flappers.
I still don't know if I want to count Flip Flappers.
I think it counts, personally. Like, there's stuff around, but it's definitely fewer and further between than before Madoka. That's a broader discussion that we're not going to get into in the Zombiepowder episode because we're not talking about magical girls.
Let's get back to Zombiepowder. About halfway through the manga's very short run, we get introduced to our last party member, a girl named Wolfgang Gina Lala Ghetto, or Wolfina for short. I'm not making that up.
Not Wolfgang Gina!
I'm pretty sure it's Wolfgang Gina. I don't think I'm making a joke there. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Wolfgang Gina.
No fucking way, it's Wolfangina. No fucking way, it's Wolfgang Gina.
Well, I'm still gonna call her Wolfgang Gina, or, you know, as they say in the rest of the show, in the rest of the manga, Wolfina for short.
Why didn't they just name her Wolfina?
Because Wolfgang Gina is hilarious.
And she is an adult, so doesn't feel quite as gross.
We have our first 18-year-old! It's amazing!
Woohoo!
When she said she was 18, I wanted to jump out of my chair and throw my fists into the air. Holy shit! We have a sexualized character in an anime/manga who's 18 years old! Why is this so hard? Why is this such a major event? They're always 17. They're always fucking 17, and I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of seeing the number 17. I'm so happy to see the number 18. Oh my god. Anyway, Wolfina is a reporter dedicated to uncovering corruption and putting the spotlight on criminals. And her weapon is a fucking camera tripod that she uses like a staff, but she can also fire the tripod base like it's a gun. Big Ruby vibes from that. Big, like, melee weapon that can also be a gun. I really thought of Ruby with that. I actually, super liked Wolfina. She feels really refreshing. Like, she's got really big shonen protagonist energy, which is fun to see from a girl. Like, I really can't think of any other characters where it's like, no, you are a very typical Naruto or Gon style shonen protagonist, but you're a girl. Like, it was fun. It was really fun. I liked her.
I think, too, what's nice is that she's very, all of her traits are not things that are typically acceptable from women for men, if that makes sense. She's very, short-tempered. She's really bad at cooking. She fits into that not like other girls stereotype of the time, which I think is very endearing.
Kind of, yeah.
She's treated the same as a male character. Well, not really.
No. If she had been a boy, she would feel like every other generic shonen protagonist, but because she is a girl, suddenly those character traits feel novel and interesting.
For sure. Can we touch on the stuff with Rainwater?
Oh, Rainwater Calder?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm not going to bother spoilering anything in this episode because there's only 4 volumes and we're not getting any more.
Yeah, no.
So, this character that is a villain of the week serves as a vessel for a lot of exposition that I feel is tackled in an interesting way. Throughout the manga, you're kind of drip-fed information on the setting and how the magic works in the setting and the nature of the magic in the setting, what have you. Which I think is really important, especially for stuff where you're really diverging from the realistic human world, because otherwise, you get shit dumped on you, and it's just overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. I would also say it's important for something like a shonen series, which, sadly, it didn't work out for this, but normally you're expecting it to be, minimum 100 chapters, probably at least, 300, if it goes well. And so you expect to be kind of drip-feeding your exposition and your world building over a very long period of time.
But I think doing it through, Villain of the Week is a really clever way to do it, because you're kind of setting the tone and you're setting the generic kind of feel for the arcs, but you're also using that character that you're introducing for a chapter or two to communicate important information about the setting, and I think that's really powerful. And not only that, but also character information. So the fight with Rainwater Calder is really interesting because we learn that Gamma's holding himself back throughout the fight because he is very much someone who puts others before himself, and he doesn't want to hurt children.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm sure is also probably why he was so stern against Elwood joining him in the start.
Oh, yeah. Also, clarification, this Rainwater Calder douchebag, like, looks like a child.
He looks like a child.
That's why Gamma is holding back. Which, very typical shonen protag stuff. Like, even if it's not for, like, altruistic reasons, the whole, like, I've only been fighting you with 25% of my power. Like, that's just shonen manga.
That's shonen manga, but I like it in this setting because it tells you about who Gamma is as a person. And it starts to tie a bunch of threads together. There's a lot of really consistent character writing in this work.
It's also a lot nicer than, like, not to shit talk my boy Goku, but it's a lot nicer than a Goku wannabe who's just like, I've just been holding back because I think it's more fun. Like, Gamma actually has sort of a character reason to be not going all out.
And so it's revealed throughout the course of the fight that Rainwater Calder is not a child, he's just taking drugs.
Youth granting drugs.
But in the setting, there's basically a drug that allows you to halt aging, but like any drug, you build up a resistance to it. Which is a really interesting concept! There's so many cool fucking concepts in this manga, and it makes me so sad that we're never gonna get any more of it.
Zombiepowder really does kind of feel like it was just about to hit its stride. You would get little bits and snippets of, like, interesting world building and some fun ideas, and you started getting, like, teases at Gamma and C.T. Smith having more interesting backstories. Like, the stuff that the show would have gotten into. I keep saying show, goddammit. The stuff that the manga would have gotten into had it been able to go longer. Like, you kind of get the feeling like it was just about to really sort of hit its stride, but unfortunately, I can also see why it wasn't given the chance, because up until that point, it's very obvious that this was Kubo's first try, if that makes sense. A lot of this feels kind of first drafty.
Mm-hmm. For me, I'm the type of person who reads into things a lot and likes to speculate as I'm going through things. And I feel like there's so many plot hooks in Zombiepowder.
Mm-hmm. There's a point like 3/4 of the way through or something where they tease like, oh, what does the C in C.T. Smith stand for? And that's going to be some really big reveal at some point. Obviously, we never get that.
Oh, yeah.
That is one thing noteworthy of Zombiepowder's ending, I think. I feel like normally, if a Shonen Jump or just like a serialized series is about to be canceled, they'll give the creator a heads up, and they have like a couple of chapters to like, all right, you're gonna have all those ideas you had, you're gonna have to condense them down and wrap this shit up super fast. Zombiepowder does not have any sort of like super rushed final chapter where it's like, thanks for reading, sorry we didn't get to finish, but appreciate all of you who stuck with us so far. Like, it just ends.
It ends, and then in the scan I was reading, it turned into another manga.
That had to have been, that was one of the one-shots that was packaged in.
So, I think it's C.T. Smith who reveals the fact that Rainwater is not a child and is just taking drugs. At which point, Gamma's like, oh, cool, and just beats the shit out of him and, like, slices him to death.
This manga also, again, very much a Kubo thing. Like, I feel like you see it a lot in Bleach, but manga's very violent.
This manga has a lot of horror theming.
There's a lot of,
I was thinking that throughout.
Like, there's one scene near the very end where Gamma just grabs a dude's arm and rips it right off of the socket. So yeah, you get introduced to C.T. Smith in the Rainwater Calder arc, and then the next arc you get introduced to Wolfina, who this is the first/last, unfortunately, major arc of the series. It takes up the last 17 chapters of the manga, and it shows our heroes trying to save Wolfina's comatose brother from an evil circus magician named Baragne Balmonk.
He's my favorite character by far. I love him.
Balmonk is pretty great. Also, to clarify, Wolfina's brother has one of the rings of the dead inside of him, which is why he's in the coma, and so everyone's just fighting over who gets to try and take the ring out.
And Wolfina is trying to save her brother and do it in a way that doesn't kill him.
That too, yes. Normally you try and take a ring of the dead out of somebody after it's infected them, and they're just gonna get murked.
You get sweet body horror. There's so much body horror in this, I love it.
It does look really cool.
It's like these giant, like, tons and tons tons of hands will start, like, protruding from the person's body if someone tries to take the ring, and will defend it. And it's just absolutely crazy to look at. It's awesome.
This was the point. I kind of have mentioned it every now and then so far in the episode, but this was really the point where I was realizing why Zombiepowder flopped as hard as it did. Like, this is where it became clear, like, Kubo has some incredibly imaginative and unique character designs, comes up with really interesting and fun powers and abilities for his characters to use against each other. Like, all of the fights in the Balmung arc are awesome. Like, they're so unique, and the mini bosses that all the characters go up against are really fun in their own unique ways.
Yeah.
And he just fills every fucking inch of the series with as much concentrated cool as he can. But it also lacks any meaningful plot or character beats whatsoever, or any sort of like overall themes it's trying to play with. I do think that it would have gotten there if it had gotten to live longer, but unfortunately, the Zombiepowder cannot revive itself from the dead. It is, at the same time, both rad as hell, but also really generic and kind of bland.
I don't know. I feel like there were a lot of themes they were really setting up for, especially toward the end there, with Gamma losing control of his body at times. Like, that was really cool.
It was.
And also, like, it probably would have been used as a metaphor for something at some point, you know? Like, I feel like it was going to end up being a metaphor for any number of things.
Like I said, I feel like it was just starting to hit its point where there was really going to be something there. It just wasn't able to get to it. Like, kind of feels like near the very end, Kubo would have tried to do something with the idea of, like, the value of life as an overarching theme. But obviously he doesn't really get the chance to do anything with it.
Yeah.
You get the tiniest initial stepping stones, but at no point do we even start crossing the river.
Can you indulge me? Can we talk about the Balmung fight?
Oh yeah, go ahead. I'll be honest, I've hit everything, and once you're done giving your points, we're just going into the retro views already.
Yes! Okay. The joy in my heart when they went to that fight with Balmung and we discovered he has fucking scary clown minions.
Yes!
It's the best day of my life. He's really just a better Hisoka.
That threw me off for a moment, sorry. These are really where some of Kubo's character designs are just the best that I've ever seen. Like, some of the henchmen for Balmung are so cool. Pounder, yeah. Is Pounder the one who's like a living sword box? That one was great.
I think Pounder is...
No, Pounder is the flame breather, right?
The one with fire, yeah.
Yeah, that was also another one of Elwood's great moments, is where he got to just take on the flamethrower guy and have a cool little scene for himself.
Yeah. Oh my god. Balmung, he's such a cool and scary villain because he's really competent, but also just so whimsical. Yeah. And so campy.
His fight really made me think, like, I'm not going to call this a negative, but I do find it very interesting that magic exists in this world, and at least in what we see, there is no defined magic system whatsoever. Like, we don't know what the resources are for magic. We don't know how people learn it. We don't know if, like, some people are bored of it. It's just some characters use cool-ass magic powers. And I think that kind of emphasizes, again, Kubo's whole, like, I'm just doing it because it's cool. Fuck it. Again, not necessarily a complaint. I just found it very interesting, because usually, if something has magic in it, it's going to have at least some form of, like, a defined magic system.
I think that there was a lot of stuff that was planned for that we didn't get to.
100%, yeah. Like, Kubo absolutely had plans for the series. Like, I imagine pretty long-reaching plans, just unfortunately it didn't do very well because he was still a very new mangaka who didn't really know the ropes yet.
Yeah.
Kubo himself has admitted, for one thing, he just wasn't really in a good place mentally while he was working on Zombiepowder, but he wasn't yet used to the demands of weekly serialization. This was his first time doing that. Beforehand, it was all just one-shots.
That makes sense.
He's also admitted that he fell into the trap that a lot of young mangaka do, where he put more weight onto what his editor said rather than trusting his own ideas. So just on the whole, this was just a new experience for him, and it was a learning experience for him. Unfortunately, Zombiepowder didn't work out, but, you know, if Zombiepowder hadn't happened, we'd never have Bleach.
I want more Zombiepowder. It'll never happen, but I want it so bad.
I don't know. I mean, I could see a world in which Kubo is just like, what if I revisited this just for funsies? I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it's certainly not impossible.
I've seen people say that he's talked about how he doesn't want to revisit it because he doesn't want to visit that point of his life.
That's fair. That's very valid.
I suspect that it has something to do with grief, because grief is a very common theme in this manga.
I could see that.
Especially Wolfina. You see a lot of grief in Wolfina. Towards the end of the manga, we start to learn that the reason Gamma hasn't been driven mad by his power, because power corrupts, and that's something that's also, I think, explicitly stated of the magic in the world. The reason that he's not being driven mad by it is because he doesn't use it for himself. He only uses his powers to help other people.
I know what you're talking about, because, like, this is a very, like, common anime protagonist archetype, I feel. But like Gamma is one of those where in his younger years he was a bloodthirsty killer who would kill hundreds indiscriminately, but then he met a woman and she convinced him to be a good boy, and now he's a good boy so he can make her proud. And I know what you're talking about because it is a conversation where they're talking about like
I really didn't interpret it that way.
Well, because it's like they're talking about like, oh, she convinced him to be better. I feel like what you were talking about of like the power corrupts and that you use your power too much, you go crazy. Like I feel like it was a little more metaphorical than that. I don't think it was flat out just like, I don't think that was like again part of the magic system, like the more you use it the more you're corrupted by it, but it is something similar to that respect. Yeah, it's
something that's spoken about in universe, because I feel like that's the difference between Gamma and Balmunk, because Balmunk comments on like, oh, you keep your powers in check by not using them for yourself. That's kind of implied in one of the conversations they have during that one arc, and I find that really interesting. Like, it's interesting too that the character who is for the most part the main antagonist of the series, as far as we're aware, is so similar to the hero but took a different path.
Yeah, because Balmunk knew Gamma back when Gamma was still the bloodthirsty killer guy, and now he's like, oh yay, I get to fight you again. Wait a minute. Oh, you found love? Oh man, that's bullshit. You're boring now. Hey Laurel. It's already time for the retro views.
I mean, this was going to be a short one. It was, 27 chapters?
26, yeah. This review is going to come from us from our good old friend Theron Martin over at ANN. This unfinished 1999 series is now seeing release in the US because it was the premiere manga work of Tite Kubo, who is much better known to American otaku as the creator of Bleach. It's packed with enough action, mayhem, and arrogance that it probably could have succeeded even without such a pedigree, as the American market has repeatedly proven it has seemingly insatiable appetite for entertainment with extremely graphic content, whether or not it's good. Kubo's writing style makes it clear that this is a first effort. It lacks sophistication and doesn't have much of a plot, with the individual encounters Gamma and Elwood have only really being excuses for action and mayhem. Not much effort was put into establishing the setting either, and the author's comments suggest that it's a Western flavor world only because it was a cool idea. Better is his use of pacing, which doesn't allow the story to dwell for long on details that aren't relevant to the action content, thus keeping it firmly focused.
I really don't think it's fair to say that there's not a lot of elaboration on the setting when there's only 4 volumes. And it seems like it was set up to be introduced in a way where you're learning little bit by little bit about the world and the setting.
Also, again, noteworthy that this was just reviewing the first volume. But also, I can see the argument that, like, if you are starting to write a new series, specifically a series that you are hoping / expecting is going to be a very long one, even, like, earlier we talked about how usually a long-running, like, a shonen series, it's going to kind of, like, drip feed the world building over, like, its hundreds of chapters, so that way it still has content. But at the same time, you want to have something that hooks people in right from the beginning. So I think it is fair to expect at least some amount of something there at the beginning to make you more interested in the world beyond just, this guy is cool, they're going to beat each other up now.
Yeah.
I mean, this feels obvious to say, but the unfortunate reality is that, like, one of the biggest things against Zombiepowder is that it wasn't given more of a chance so that it could keep going. But again, also, I completely understand why it wasn't really given that chance. Like, it was only just starting to get good, and unfortunately, with how competitive the Shonen Jump landscape is and how they handle things, like, you gotta be, by that point, you gotta be succeeding if you want to keep going.
Yeah.
I think you were seeing the potential of where the characters could have gone. It's just, they didn't get to go those places. But you're giving it credits for potential, which I don't think is something a lot of other people would do.
Speculating, though. Like, it was so fun to read for me because I was like, I don't know, there's something really appealing to that as someone who really loves storytelling. Like, being able to kind of infer my own story to an extent. But yeah, as a piece of media, I can see why other people might not have as much fun if they're just focused on what's happening and what's occurring and not what could happen.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to try and pull at least another couple reviews for this segment, but honestly, pretty much every review that I could find from the time period was just the same thing that Theron was saying. So there wasn't really much of a merit to just reading the same review 3 more times. But I did find one review that I had to read because it is amazing.
Okay.
It is from 2008. It is from Goodreads.com.
Oh my God.
User Tiffany. Tiffany from Goodreads.com. I believe this was also for the first volume. This is the entire review. It is a 4-star review. Okay?
Okay.
And this is the review. It's a bit disgusting. Fuck, when I read that the other night, it took me out. I had to put that in there. That was amazing.
Disgusting.
Now, here is something that we haven't been able to do legitimately in quite a few episodes. Would you recommend this to someone today?
If they like Bleach, absolutely. I actually recommended this to my friend who is a Bleach mega fan.
What if someone is not a Bleach fan?
I mean, it's short enough that I don't think I would regret recommending it to people. What do you think?
I think this is an academic curiosity for anyone who is a fan of Bleach, even temporarily in their lives.
Yeah.
Like, if you were a Bleach fan in middle school, but you haven't touched it since then, I still think you can gain a lot out of reading Zombiepowder today, just for the fun of it. And its short length does make it very easy to suggest someone. But it's far from a must-read. Like, I don't think that this is something I would suggest to anyone today outside of the academic curiosity of it.
I think for listeners of the podcast, I would probably skew towards recommending it because it's very nostalgic for the time it was created to me. Like, I never read this, but it feels so tonally, and like the sense of humor is so like early 2000s, late 90s humor. So it was just a pleasant experience and a fun romp with the weird circus.
No, it is a very good time. I don't know if it's... this is maybe going to sound a little meaner than I intend. It's a good time. I don't know if it's a necessary time, if that makes sense.
I think it's got a lot of interesting ideas.
Oh, absolutely. I
think that there are things to enjoy in it for sure.
You know what? I could, again, this is more for like academic reasons than anything else, but I could also see a recommendation for this for like someone who wants to get into writing manga or comics or even just any kind of stories for themselves. And they want an example of, again, this is going to sound meaner than I intended, but like, I guess kind of what not to do, sorta. Like, this is what a typical author's first try looks like.
Yeah.
See if you can be better than this. Oh,
that
sounds so mean. It sounds so mean. I'm so sorry, Kubo.
I get what you're saying, though. Like, I think it's a really good example of something that is not badly written, but some of it is just off enough that it doesn't make the cut. It's like a good benchmark for how coherent to make your storytelling, how important it is to have a really solid first chapter, stuff like that.
If you have the goal of being a writer and making stories, comics or otherwise, but I guess comics/manga, especially in this sort of instance, if that is your goal, read Zombiepowder and aim to do at least as good as Zombiepowder does when you start out.
I'm gonna write Zombiepowder, but just better enough that they put it back in Shonen Jump.
Now, important PSA for anyone who does go and read Zombiepowder. Important PSA. Stop reading at chapter 24. There are 26 chapters, but chapter 24 is when the first big arc ends. If you read the next 2 chapters, then it's like, this is clearly setting something up, but then the show, god damn it. The manga just ends abruptly, like you're missing the rest of the pages. And also, if you stop at chapter 24, you don't have to deal with the weird lolly they introduce in the last 2 chapters.
Okay, but consider, they also introduce the really hot surgeon lady.
I'm sorry, but she's not worth it. She does not supplant the weird lolly. And again, I think it's just narratively a little more fulfilling if you end at 24.
Yeah.
Laurel, where can people access our social media?
You can find us at Weeb Years on Blue Sky. Not the Weeb Years, just at Weeb Years.
Yes. And if you want to send a listener question or suggestions for new episodes to do, anything like that, we have a mailbox, theweebyears@gmail.com.
Not to be confused with The Weed Years, which is my upcoming weed podcast.
That's a joke that I tried to make at the beginning of an episode like months ago that you are now stealing from me, you plagiarist. You joke pirate.
I bought the joke legally.
If you had a good time today, this was a very short one, but if you had a good time today, we would really appreciate the usual, share us around on social media, tell your anime-loving friends, leave a comment, leave a review, leave us a like if you're on YouTube, ring that bell. I don't know if ring that bell is still a thing on YouTube. I'm not really aware of that anymore, but, give us that help. Give us that help. If you help us out, we'll be able to keep doing this more and more, and we can keep talking about more of your fan animes and mangas. I'm gonna go jump in a hole now. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye!